Hey guys, it's Tricia Carr. I have new exciting things going on with my Mystic Arts Academy. You can now subscribe to receive all of the live monthly content for about a third of the investment of a single class. Included are at least one downloadable guided meditation per month, 2 live events ranging from classes, channeled messages, group readings, intuitive development guidance, Q&A sessions, and tons of community. You'll also have access to a private Facebook community for fellowship and support, and this space is kept super sacred and high vibrational. Your subscription gives you access to the whole library of classes and live events, which are on a vast array of topics. All events are offered online by Zoom video call, and many are also offered live in person at my studio here in Los Angeles. Subscribing to the Mystic Arts Academy is also a way for you to support the Charmed Life podcast and engage on a deeper level. I'm offering the subscription at a super low rate of $22 a month. Joining now locks in this rate for as long as you're subscribed. Click on the description of this episode or go to my website, triciacarcharm.com, and click on Mystic Arts Academy. I look forward to connecting. Hello, welcome to Charmed Life. I am your host, Tricia Carr, and I'm doing a little addendum intro for this particular episode. You see, this episode is with my wonderful guest, Calista, who is a very magical being, talking to us about unicorns, fairy, the Fae realm, and in this episode, she is discussing her new book about the feminine archangels. We're going to talk about that in depth, but I wanted to do a little addendum. We actually held this episode. I interviewed Calista a little while back, but as we got closer to it, instead of releasing it right away, we wanted to align it with her book launch. And so as that happened, then the 2020 pandemic came online for us. And so I wanted to make sure the energy was just right to release this episode. And so I think that we could really use some magic, and we could really use some deep inner support with the feminine archangels, as Calista is going to talk to us about in the book that she has just released. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and let you all know that I'm with you in this, and I will continue to release more episodes. And thank you so much. I will leave you to this episode with Calista. Calista is an award-winning author, pioneer of spiritual ascension, and a magical healer who truly walks her talk. Through creating the therapy modalities angel healing, unicorn healing, and Atlantean crystal healing, has attuned thousands of souls worldwide to the angelic, elemental, and crystalline kingdoms, and believes by healing and empowering our lives, we can help all of creation to thrive. Calista, I am beyond excited to talk to you, and I've watched so much of your content and read your content, but I don't think I know exactly what your journey is about. I don't know if you had an awakening experience. So let's just open, if you wouldn't mind telling everyone, as well as me, what it is that the work that you're doing now, the work that you have been doing, and just what your journey is.
Okay. Well, welcome. It's so nice to be here. My journey now, I'm an author and speaker and teacher of practical, nature-based and angelic ascension. So some people call me a bridge because I am very, very grounded and love speaking about the elementals and the fairies and Mother Earth, but equally very at home conveying what the angels are sharing and the unicorns and councils of light. So very much a bridge.
Wow.
But I had a big portion of my life when I was not doing this. I was actually a cancer research scientist.
Oh wow!
Making therapies for oral therapies for many different types of cancers. And so my life back then was very different to what it is now. Speaking to unicorns and angels every day.
Well, it was just more indirectly then. You were a healer. It just was. Yeah. You didn't know you were speaking to archangels and unicorns.
I always had a passion to help others because that really was my foundation growing up. My family, they were all either nurses or midwives or healers or spiritualist mediums. So that really was my foundation. And I grew up in Scotland where I am now. And Scotland here is so alive in magic.
Yes.
And the traditions of speaking to the wee folk, which is the fairies, that's passed down to us. And so I was happy speaking to crystals when I was younger and speaking to fairies, and that just felt very natural to me. But as I grew up, my passion and my connection with spirit waned as different life experiences happened to me, and I became quite hardened and quite cynical, and I guess a little bit mistrusting of the path, and went more into academia, got my degree, then worked in pharmaceuticals for many years until, I definitely had a reawakening in 2005, 2006, when I knew I just could not, I felt like I couldn't breathe in science. I saw so much commercialization of health, and I just did not want to be part of it anymore. But I still wanted to help people. And so I began to learn different forms of alternative healing, hands-on healing. And through that path, began to meditate, began to connect with angels and fairies, and the magic that I experienced when I was younger just came back and strengthened ever more. And that's really where I am right now.
That's so
and together with Spirit have written books and founded 3 hands-on healing modalities that are now taught around the world: angel healing, unicorn healing, and Atlantean crystal healing. And my life is very different actually from my science world.
Yes, I would say so. Wow, what a beautiful journey. I know a lot of the listeners would find so much similarity. I have similar peaks in my story of my journey, and mine had to do with religion. And really, I feel that science, I mean, humans are humans, but science is kind of like a modern religion in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And with the same potential for expansion, of course, and obviously, science is what has advanced our civilization to a great degree. But then, of course, like you said, the commercialism, or just how people, it's just human nature, people putting the authority and the sovereignty outside of themselves. And so if science hasn't proven it, or science hasn't actually signed off on it, then it can't be accepted, it can't be utilized. But what is so flawed in that premise is that the way that science makes advances is essentially by faith and going into the chaos and releasing any preconceptions.
It is. You have to have so much faith in science, because you have to, you're working with the unknown most of the time.
Yes.
But I think that gets forgotten.
And so again, like the mirror of the pitfalls of humanity or human nature, and then also the beauty of what humans do in order to expand is it's common in any of these ways that we practice the path of what our path is. The beauty of science is the same as the beauty of nature magic, I would say.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. But it's lovely to see, and very refreshing to see, how much spirituality is meeting science and vice versa.
Yes.
There is becoming such commonality, which is great.
Well, quantum physics is starting to somewhat, I can't even say totally, but somewhat map what mystics and metaphysicians have been practicing for hundreds of years, I guess you might, maybe thousands. And the mapping of it is still very loose. I mean, they don't know what it is that they are looking at. They can just say this is happening, and we don't really understand it. Like the double slit experiment, where in the double slit experiment, which one of the secondary gains of it was that they recognized that just when awareness was placed on particles, I think, pardon my ignorance, but that they would actually shift or change, and it was just awareness. And that they don't know, they can't say why. So that's why I say it's not even totally mapping it. It is just acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Or epigenetics, epigenetics showing us that our genetics are not hardwired. It's how we respond to them.
Mm-hmm. It is, definitely. Yeah, I love that experiment because it really reflects how there's an intelligence in everything. There's
Yes.
an energy, there's an animism in everything.
Yes.
And when that energy knows and acknowledges that it's being watched, it changes.
Yeah. So
So
amazing.
yeah.
And that is, I mean, to me, that's the model of creation. That's source energy or God sought to have an experience and therefore observed or moved or made a sound or had a thought or loved. And that's essentially what I think they're identifying in that intelligence became intelligent.
Absolutely.
Source energy became intelligent by becoming somehow two different experiences or the illusion of it.
Starts in a lab. I love it. Yeah, it's very true.
Well, the way that I found you was actually early around my awakening too. And I was, I actually wasn't really in, and now I'm like deep into having spiritual community, having friends and colleagues who, and obviously, with this program, having all kinds of like-minded individuals. But I started because I hadn't had that. I'm sure that's probably how you, well, I don't know, maybe not, since you actually come up in a culture that it is welcomed to some degree. There's something that is normal or accepted, whereas how was it for you in the beginning of your awakening experience? Were you going through it on your own, or your reawakening? Was it on your own, or did you have some friends or family who could share in your experiences?
Truly, Trisha, I had nobody because
Even still, even in a culture that might experience it
I
globally.
really didn't. I had my mum. My mum has
That's nice.
always been in the background, holding space and, nodding her head at whatever I'm sort of turning my focus to and not really having an opinion. But nobody really was around because when I left science, and it was quite a hard decision to
Sure.
move, it was quite a big leap of faith, I'm
Yeah.
sure the listeners can imagine, to go from everything that I knew, and I was engaged to get married to an academic. All my friends were in science. I had no friends outside my job.
Yeah.
And then I took that leap to start up a holistic business. The relationship with my fiance ended. I had no friends anymore because everybody in science thought I was bonkers to believe that I could wave my hands over somebody and heal them more than taking a pill
Yeah.
could heal. So they all kind of exited my life, and I had nobody like physically, but non-physically I was surrounded by
Yes.
so much love, and that carried me, that gave me such faith. And I look back at that moment of that transition. Whenever I need to take a leap of faith now, I look back and go, actually, even if I don't feel the love of spirit around, because maybe I'm more in my head and I'm not in alignment, I can go back to that moment and go, absolutely, I was carried.
Yes.
Faith is always there, but we have to be the faith. We have to embody that to then take that leap.
Yes, we have absolute free will, and we cannot be compelled to have faith or feel love. We can't. We can be met where we are. And sometimes that does feel like rescue because we surrender in some kind of deep experience, and there's surrender, and so then we get met where we are, which may be a bit profoundly deep into some kind of illusion. And that's beautiful too. That really redeems all experiences. And that's so I was tooling around and experiencing what I was experiencing and meditating, and I started to have experience fairies and in particularly like a gnome guide, which I didn't know gnomes were a thing, but except for some cartoon approached me while I was meditating, and unicorns, and I just thought, why not? You know what I mean? I just thought I was just experiencing what you can in the imaginal plane of meditation, and I thought if it feels good, then that's not going to hurt anyone. And so it was easy for me to, I guess, validate it because I didn't think it was a major experience. But then I got curious, and you were probably, I don't know if you were the very first, but one of the first people that I found who was talking about this stuff. And I was like, So it's real. It's not just, it's not, I mean, I talk to my students a lot about losing that phrase, just my imagination, as though somehow that is, that's what we were told to release our intuitive psychic seeing as we were children, that's imagination, therefore it is unreal. But in truth, that's the beginning of reality, and that is a more real reality. And so, but yes, so your work, and I felt like it was some hidden gem because I was all on my own. So I discovered you. I was like this lone, I put my flag on the moon, you know what I mean? So I thought that I discovered, and I didn't know anybody else was talking about this stuff. And I was like, what? So this is truly like such an honor to connect with you. So much joy in my heart. I guess it's that unicorn energy, right?
I'm glad you said that. I can actually see and feel them around you right now.
Yeah.
They're really with you. I take it you've done a lot of meditation and attunement with them.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
I've taught classes with them, and I've taught elemental and nature spirit and deva and fairy classes. It's one, I didn't even know that you were connecting and teaching about the Council of Light. I literally just put on my calendar of my classes to teach people how to connect with their Council of Light and channel their Council of Light. I hadn't heard this part of your content yet, so that's amazing.
I love that. I love that. Everything just follows on to the next thing,
Yes.
and I'm glad. That you didn't feel alone, that you felt validated, because that's it. We get told that our imagination is somehow not worthy, to focus on, and yet it is a gateway. And if we can imagine something, wow, we can bring it into existence, because we are the creator. We are creation and creator in every moment, crafting this experience that we're in, either personally but also collectively. And I think it's such a shame that we are taught as children to sort of box our imagination in, but yet the unicorns especially are all for letting our imagination just be free again, so that we can just express ourselves through many different ways in order to discover who we are, to understand who we are, to understand one another, to understand this world that we're in, and then beyond this world. Imagination is such a gift to be nurtured. And being a mum, that's one thing that I really want to keep alive within my children as much as I can, is their imagination, and just give them that space to be validated.
It seems like the parents, which just, I can't even imagine what the landscape of humanity is going to look like in 15, 20 years, because of the Great Awakening. And so the people who are parenting, like yourself, are fostering their children to retain that imagination, retain their connection, to validate the experiences that they have, which we know are spirit. And so I can't even imagine what's going to happen to society, because it's just seriously so widespread now, at least respectively, comparatively to, even 25 years ago. Yet, I think it is just a part to speak to. I'm not a parent of humans myself, but I think it's a part of the journey that the children still will go, they as humans, we will identify to the 3D to some degree, however much the parents will, so that I think if you don't, then you might float away. You know what I mean? The children won't become a part of society, and so they won't move into it. And yet they can still maybe not shut it down all the way, is what I'm seeing as the vision. While they may put some attention on the collective and understand how that machine works and that matrix works, they maybe can still keep the base of being open. Is that what you're experiencing or hoping for as well?
I would agree with that for sure. I mean, the kids that are coming now, they're all fourth dimensional. They've all anchored that. There's no 3D within them, yet they're still coming into this 3D world. And I was actually feeling into this a couple of days ago. I was walking my son to nursery, in the morning. And I obviously have to teach him about road safety and about being aware of cars and everything like that. And I was just feeling into, in a way, I'm teaching him to be fearful in order for him to be safe. And I kind of struggled with that a little bit because, one, we have to teach them safety and all these different things. And I thought, oh, we have to teach them, and then later on they have to unlearn these things. But I guess that's really a story. That's like a reflective story of what our ego does.
Yeah.
You know, we all come in here with an ego, and so many people berate their ego, but actually a part of our ego, why we were given it, is to keep us safe.
Yes.
Is to keep us safe.
To commit to the physical reality. That's kind of the good and the basic of the ego, is to keep us physically alive. And then we bloat it. But yes, of course, there is a part of it. That's what I mean when I say if the children or if the people don't kind of start to commit to the 3D, even if it is the matrix that is confined to 3D, then I don't know. I think that's just a part of the going in and out of the story, as you say. Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to.
No, it's okay. But the way that I watch my kids, I have a 3 and a 4-year-old, 2 boys, and then I have a 10-month-old daughter, and they're all so switched on, but super sensitive, very different in their own ways. But I know that just if I take myself back and I just watch them, I realize that they are so more advanced than our generation, because they're so much more in the moment. And yes, they'll still have a tantrum and they'll still fight and whatever, but they just move so quickly into the next moment, and everything gets forgotten about. They don't harbor anything. They don't take on things. They're just always in the moment. And Rowan especially, very, very sensitive. And like I was, when I was a child, I would see things, I would feel things. And he said to me the other day, Mum, it feels like I have 100 minds in my mind.
Oh, wow.
You know, what do you say to something like that?
Was that your 3 or your 4-year-old?
My 4-year-old, my eldest. And he's very aware. And he is like a crystal. There is all these beings going in and out through him all the time. And perhaps he might be a medium, something like that when he's older. But at the moment, he's trying to get a grip on it. And I can help and I can be a guardian and share. But we're being told, Spirit's telling us, that we also have to step back as parents and let them have their own experience.
Yes.
It's really important.
It's basically from the time that when they can move, when they can start to scoot or crawl, that they become less yours, less ours, and we have to start letting them have their own experience, and that's when they start to have their relationship with the time-space reality, when they can move away from, probably mom, 90% of the time, because of the children coming from the physical body of the female. That's when the autonomy starts. That's so early, right? About 10 months old, somewhere between 6 and 10 months, you have to start letting them have their own sovereignty and release that. I would love to talk about, if we could assume that this is the first time someone is listening to my show, or one of the first times, and hello and welcome. And if they're listening for the first time and they're like, what are these chicks talking about unicorns? How? What are they talking about? You know what I mean? Yeah, I was into them when I was 3 or 5 or 7. How do you describe to people? How do you help to bridge people to that? Yes, the reality is unicorns are real beings. I'd love to hear you talk about that.
I guess it depends where they are. If they're just starting out in their spiritual path, then they might see them as archetypes,
yes, and that's okay. That's maybe an aspect always that is useful.
That's absolutely fine. Yeah. Again, that's working with the imagination. If they see them as archetypes for greater hope, greater majesty, greater freedom, greater love, then brilliant. But then you may widen your perspective perhaps and start to open up to them the possibility that they're real.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are. They absolutely are. And, ever the scientist, I don't believe in anything until I can really experience it.
Yeah.
And, it took me a while, and so many experiences with them now. I've taught unicorn healing since 2009, and there isn't one student over how many times I've taught that course who hasn't connected to their unicorn guide. And I have had people so cynical, and just awakening to their journey as well, but they'll always have these incredible connections with their unicorn.
That's what and as I was describing how I first started to experience fairies, nature elementals, the devas, and, unicorns, leprechauns as well for me, it was like in my meditation, it was like, oh, it's an archetype. And that was fine with me. But, it got deeper. For me, it's always like, it's both and. It's yes and. And whichever perspective is helping you, then it's helping you. And I'm a hypnotherapist too, so that's how, I guess even the idea of it being of the archetype can be a bridge for the deeper experiencing. And people who don't necessarily have the beliefs or experience of that which would be more mystical or metaphysical can still utilize it. They don't, people they don't have to believe in reincarnation or simultaneous reincarnations in order to benefit from past life regression. They really don't have to. And, I love what you said, belief. You don't believe something until you experience it. And I actually kind of, for myself personally, I actually don't use the word belief as much as experience. When I find myself saying believe, and it's just because of the connotation or where it has been in my languaging of my life, that belief felt a bit more grasping or at least subjective. And so experience is fluid. You know what I mean? It's like what I'm experiencing, and I could experience something different tomorrow or this again and more. And that's what I've kind of tried to replace the word belief with the word experience.
It's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
The unicorns, if we look at what the unicorn represents, the unicorns reflect our soul and our soul's potential to become and express and be who we came here to be, our fullest expression. And so if we understand that, then we can realize that we have a soul. Everybody has a soul, an energetic potential and expression. And it is true, the second we invite the unicorns into our life, whether it's connecting with them, reading about them, asking them to come into your dream time or meditation or doing healing, you are inviting your soul. You really are. And from my experience, when someone consciously connects with the unicorns and invites them into their life, they just take these massive leaps. Their life goes from where they are to really where they want to be.
Yeah.
And whatever they're ready for, the manifestations, the new career, the new relationship, they will go there. The unicorns will escort them there through signs, symbols, synchronicities, or linguistic exchanges, telepathic exchanges. It's quite phenomenal. That's why I'm so passionate about helping people to connect with unicorns.
Do you find, so Diana Cooper, of course, yes?
Yeah, I do know her, yeah.
You know her personally?
I do, yeah. We're doing a unicorn documentary together.
No way! Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! When is it? I'm going to be in the front row.
We have, I filmed my portion of it. She's filming hers right now, and Tim Wilde is guesting as well.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Friend, ascension teacher. And I think she's hoping to pitch it to Netflix, which would be incredible to get it into the mainstream.
Oh, I love it. Well, I was going to ask you if, Diana Cooper, and I've experienced this, there's that word again, I've experienced it myself, of unicorns being white horses who ascend. So physical, having incarnated as horses eventually to have a life as a white horse and then to ascend. Is that how you experience the unicorn energy, or is it sometimes that and sometimes the other, just that they're angelic and light beings and perhaps do or do not incarnate, have the incarnational experience?
Yeah, Diana writes about angelic unicorns.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was my experience. I've only heard her talk about the ascended ones, and I have found both, like ascended ones and also, so okay, great. I hadn't come upon that in her content.
But in truth, there are many different types of
Yeah.
unicorns,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're not all. They weren't all physical horses that
Right.
ascended. Only certain types.
Right.
We differ in our opinions of unicorns just because we work with different ones.
Yeah.
But the unicorns that came forward in my book, Unicorn Rising, were the galactic unicorns, elemental unicorns, angelic, those connected with Lemuria, Atlantis, the royal unicorns, of course, which I'm really connected with, and my daughter's connected with, like energetically. So there's many different types.
Yeah.
And a person, their guide will, the type of unicorn that they have in their spirit team will represent what their specific soul gifts or soul calling is in this given lifetime. So because I'm all about working with nature-based spirituality, but also working with the higher realms, I have galactic and elemental unicorns in my team.
You seriously are blowing my mind, because it's so, the synchronicities, you know, you live a life of synchronicity, and it in a way becomes a paradox of being both mundane, because it happens, not mundane, but common at least. And then, but it never ceases to blow your mind. And as we were talking about the Council of Light, and as I was communing with my Council of Light, and they presented themselves to me, and they, you know, it sort of looks like these 4 really columns of light, but they're kind of like crystalline. And this is common. It's a common experience for people to see their guides this way. But they seem like crystalline beings. So the columns of light seem like liquefied, or some kind of crystal energy. So crystalline would be the best way I'd say. And the word that I got to describe them, or at least some of them, was cosmic elemental. So it's like the galactic elemental, as you're talking about. And the word that I translated was cosmic. So that's really just aligned, just profound. I just wanted to talk about that.
And the councils of light are coming more, you know, they're
coming more online.
They've always been there, of course, but they're coming forward because our perception is widening, our consciousness is evolving, and so we can accept these things and commune more because our vibration is expanding. But these beautiful beings have always been there. And a lot, you know, the galactic unicorns absolutely work with a lot of the councils of light, especially the Elohim, the 12 angelic architects that in many ways created Mother Earth. And were pivotal in all the golden ages that she's seen. And I can feel them coming in now, actually. I can feel their... Yeah. But yeah, those beautiful beings, the Elohim, very much are going to be more verbal as we go forward. And that's why we're seeing so many more channels come forward, and people are stepping into their teachership and their authority and their leadership, and it's great.
I had a really strong activation this morning in my meditation, and I was now again, I wasn't even thinking of it, of course, because you're in that timeless moment. But the activation was really, really strong, and it was to that point of activating this kind of galactic crystalline experience. And it came to mind while you were talking about how people will advance so much, they'll have this kind of exponential growth. By the way, when you have that in an alignment, you know, with the unicorns or something, it actually feels natural, and it usually isn't until you turn around and it's 3 months later or a year later and you're like, oh, whoa, that was a huge and fast change. It actually kind of doesn't feel fast, because even though it's expedited, it's a sustainable kind of expedited growth. That's what I've experienced. But I think you know, we see the unicorns, like the Pegasus or the alicorn, and they have, you know, the way that we anthropomorphize them as horses with wings, and that's that heart energy, just like that flight energy, that just speeding and that racing, just with that love. But love is even too small of a word somehow.
Yes. Yeah.
Creator
absolutely.
Energy.
They hold the that's what they're saying. I've never used that word before, but the immaculate virtues of Source. the immaculate, the pure virtues of Source they bring forward, and then they help us to become a template.
Yeah.
To really embody these virtues. And if we embody them, then we can give them to everybody that's around us, and everybody becomes blessed. I was going to say something, and I don't normally do this in podcast interviews, but all I'm seeing is Arcturian energy coming through you really, really strongly.
Really interesting. Typically, it's Pleiadian, but you know what? I take that because just yesterday I was alerted to Arcturian energy just by listening to someone else talking about their experience. And you know when it is when someone else is saying experience and you hear Arcturian and your ears go blink. And I was like, maybe I'm working with that right now. That's interesting. Well, thank you for that.
That's the next door for you, yeah.
Fascinating. I love it. And so you have a book that is coming out as we are offering this episode in about a couple of weeks, and it is called The Female Archangels: Evolutionary Teachings to Heal and Empower Your Life. Wow. I love it. I'm getting chills. What a great topic. I would love to hear about that.
And it's such an on-purpose topic as well, because I'm sure your listeners are aware, you know, we're in the age of the feminine, we're in the Aquarian age. We went through this threshold period round about 1111. I know some people say it's 2012, but I really felt that they came in, huge big rush of the female archangel energy. But I've worked with these angelics since 2007 time, roundabout, when Archangel Michael and his counterpart Faith came forward, and Raphael and Virtue came forward, and they were very much, okay, Calista. I mean, I was just fresh out of science, and they said to me, you're going to be creating a hands-on healing modality, and you're going to teach it around the world, and it's going to be as popular as Reiki and all these things. I went, really? I don't think so. Like that was too big for me to even contain. But then it happened, it all manifested, and haven't looked back. But the female angelics, when I first heard about them, and a way I can describe them is, so a coin has two sides, and this is exactly like an angel. Yes, it is an angel, doesn't have sex organs, doesn't have a form, but it has two expressions. It has a polarity, has expression of the feminine on one side and expression of the masculine on the other. But because we've been in that 2,000-year-old patriarchal Piscean age, when God was represented as a male, Jesus, Buddha, they're all represented as a male. Of course, angels were seen as masculine. But now we're in this feminine age, so the feminine angels, called the Archaea, are coming forward, and they want us to connect with them, mainly to heal and empower our divine feminine self, our divine feminine energy, no matter if we're male, female, whatever we identify with. They're here to help that power, that untapped creative energy, the womb energy of Source, to really rise up. And their overlighting message is for us to return to joy, freedom, and pleasure. So that's what the book is about.
Yes, pleasure. That is something that has been on my plate lately. Is that pleasure is the reason that we are doing this. And you know, earlier on, also probably about around the time that I found you, I was channeling messages from the way that I was describing it, the way the words came through was as living words. So words that are alive, their consciousnesses, and their expressions of love. So, for example, like words faith, and they're counselors. And I didn't really think about them as you were using those words for, like Archangel Michael's counterpart, the feminine, it would be faith. I didn't think about it that way. And I have a lot of blog posts about these living words, and now I'm recognizing it probably as those feminine archangels, archangelic archaea energies.
And that's really how they wanted to be described in the book. The other half of Michael is Archaea Faith, but another name for her is Michaela. We could call her Michaela,
Sure.
but because we're on this precipice of just coming into working with them, they really want us to understand who they are at a root level. And so faith is exactly what she brings forward. She brings forward faith. And if we look at the root word of faith, it means to trust. So faith is trust in action, that's exactly what it is. If we take a leap of faith, we're in the action of faith, we're trust and flow. And so there's 11 archaea profiled in the book, and each of them come forward with the virtue. So it's purity, harmony, joy, constance, as in constancy. And it's wonderful because it's so simplistic, but at the same time it's very profound because they are living words. They're living virtues.
Yeah.
And when we attune to these incredible sacred angels, we become, like the unicorns, we become the template of those virtues.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Are there any other of the archaea that you would like to share? It's okay if you want us to wait until we read the book. You don't have to share all 11. Are there any others that you would like to share as, faith and archaea Michaela, if we want to call her that, or archaea faith is what we would want to say, right? To really stand apart, to go into that. Okay. Are there any others you would like to share?
Before, she was very, very insistent. She was nudging me. So before we connected, archaea Constance, very, very strong, wanted to come in.
Did you see that when you said that? I went, like I found her, and particularly. You guys have to watch it back because you may not have heard me say it, but you could see it on my face. I went, So, okay.
Oh, she's gorgeous. So she is the twin of Archangel Metatron. So as one angel of ascension, of course, overlighting this whole experience that we're going through at the moment. She is like the night's sky. She is vast, vital, brilliant, brave. She's that mysterious. Oh, you can't even encapsulate her. She's just so beautiful and mysterious. Yet to know her is really, she says, to know yourself. She is the I am in everything.
Yes.
And the I am who we are. And she's coming forward with so much love for us, for everybody listening. She just wants us to take those leaps in our personal life, but also in our ascension, to stop being so small. And
this is exactly my activation this morning. I'm like,
what's it?
You can't write this, or we just are. I was like, I didn't know I wasn't taking a leap right now, but that's exactly what I was activated on. So anyway, go ahead. I can't but laugh.
So, what else can we say about Constance? What else would you like to share?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah. No, go ahead. I thought you were asking me. You're asking her.
I just wanted to share. She brings forward what's known as the Vesica Pisces, or that's the way I pronounce it. People pronounce it differently, but which is really central to all sacred geometry. She works with Metatron. Of course, he's always synonymous with Metatron's cube and the flower of life, but she holds the Vesica Pisces, which, if you break down all the shapes, all the forms, it would come down to these literally two overlapping circles, and together is that space of unity. And she wants us to start working with the Vesica Pisces and also other sacred geometry, and just take ourselves within them and meditate within these sacred shapes, because they've been overused and misused throughout other golden ages. And this seems to be really important at the moment.
Now, as it concerns the archangelic energies that we already tend to recognize as feminine, that I'm just curious, are there counterparts or like twins that you identify? I don't know if it would pertain to this book or just in general, just curious.
I speak about this in the book because this is coming up so much. And even in society with gender fluidity so much, especially, I don't know if it's so much in the US, but definitely here in the UK. And what's been happening is the female archangels, the archaea, have been coming forward for a very long time. Yes, there was a huge big peak in 1111, but when we identify with an angel as feminine, we're working with the archaea. That's why a lot of the angels, like, for example, Jophiel or Haniel or Ariel even, yes, they're actually the male archangels, but what's been happening is the feminine energy within, because the feminine always gives birth to the masculine, the feminine within the archangel's expression, that's who people have been connecting with. Because actually Jophiel is actually, his vibration is masculine. His counterpart is Archaea Clarity, who, yes, she is feminine, but together that angel does represent illumination, beauty, clarity of mind. So that this is, somebody has asked me this before, and it's fascinating because it just shows you that we have been working with the female angelics before, because of course invoking one will always give rise to the other because they're not separate.
Of course. Archangel Ariel is the creator of my oversoul. When I was in that earlier exploration stage and I was reading someone's book about angels as just on a lark, why not give this little thing some attention and see what this is like? And the author suggested that you could ask your guardian angel's name. And so I thought, okay, great. I put down the book, and I had been meditating, so I understood how to clear my mind. And actually, I had already started to practice animal communication. And so I put down the book, I cleared my mind, and I said, what's the name of my archangel? Or what's not the name of an archangel? What's the name of my angel, guardian angel? And I heard Ariel. And I was so not in the languaging of this yet, or the exploration of it, that the first thing I thought of was The Little Mermaid. And I thought, Disney, get out of my spiritual experience. And so I read a little bit further. Oh, I Googled first and found out that Ariel, is said to oversee nature and animals and even animal communication, like the little description that I found. And of course, I was floored and shocked and possibly a little disturbed that I could pull through such information. But then in that very same book, which is wonderful that you are writing books like this, because in that very same book, I moved a little forward, I saw that there was Archangel Ariel in this person's book, but this person admonished that you cannot expect to have a relationship with the archangels. They are not your guardian angels. They do not work with you because they're too busy.
Right. I don't agree with that, but whatever.
I know, me too, obviously. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm being maybe a bit hyperbolic, but this person did say that essentially my experience that came completely spontaneously was impossible. And so being where I was, I received that a little bit and decided, well, I must have misheard because this authority tells me that I'm wrong. And so I went back and asked, could I get clarity on that? And then I heard the name Aliel, A-L-I-E-L, as a masculine feeling energy. And then I went to Google with my angel Aliel and found some very old, like photocopied, looked like it probably was on a microfiche. And it was like this exhaustive kind of codex, like this categorization of names of spirits. And tiny in there I found Angel Aliel, and then it had like these little designations of what these kinds of different spirits were. And the first category that was next to my Angel Aliel was Aerial Spirit. So you can't...
Honestly, you can't make that up, can you? It's just...
I'm sitting and I was like when you're describing it, I didn't have other friends or someone to talk to about it, so I was like, "What's happening to me?" No, I mean it was. I wasn't frightened. It was just right. You can't make that up. And so like the guardian angels or any other angelics, they are reflections of these energies as well, and reflections of my Archangel Ariel, I guess. And so I eventually embraced that I could have a relationship with Archangel Ariel, who knocked on my door.
It's so funny, and that story just reminds us to we can listen to others
Yeah.
but only trust what we feel is true.
Yes.
Trust our own experience. If we go back to that,
Hmm.
trust our own experience, and if it feels right to us, it doesn't matter what other people say or have written about. It's valid for us, and
Yes.
that's all that matters.
Absolutely. And just think about if you were a perfect parent, then would you care how your child received or manifested the most wonderful experience for themselves, the one that was the wisest, the most abundant, the most pleasurable? You wouldn't care if you got credit for it or not as a perfect
Yeah,
parent.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
So what are some of the some of the other books that you have written that we could is right now this one, The Female Archangels, is on pre-order, so as soon as you hear this episode you can go and find it, and we'll put a link in the description for you to be able to find to go and pre-order The Female Archangel, right? Am I correct in that, right?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes,
Yeah, we'll
that would
put
be
it.
great. Yeah.
And what are some other books that would interest folks? Have you written some about the devas or the fairies or the elementals as well? And obviously your unicorn books.
Well, I've written Unicorn Rising, of
Unicorn
course,
Rising, yes.
and in Unicorn Rising, I do speak about elementals for sure.
Awesome. Hmm.
My next book actually is going to be, I'm going to unveil it. I've not even shared with anybody, but I'm
Ooh,
going to share it with you.
world
Is
premiere.
definitely it's going to be working with the magic of the natural kingdoms, and that has wanted to come forward for so long, and they want to share all the different facets, all the different kingdoms want to share, and so that's going to be my next one.
Oh, I love that. How beautiful. And what is the name of your modality, your healing modality? Is it unicorn healing, or you have a few different modalities?
Yeah, unicorn healing,
Yeah.
which I open twice a year, and that's going to be open in June.
Mm.
And angel healing, which is open most of the time because I have teachers in the UK and the US now, which is great. And Atlantean crystal healing,
Mm.
which I've stepped back from a little bit just to focus on other things, but there is teachers of those modalities.
Wow, beautiful. Wow. I am just, again, I can't imagine. I don't know how to tell you how honored I am and just how grateful I am for the work that you're doing. It's so very beautiful, so very important. The magic it is much more accepted than ever. Again, with the new children, not just the ones who are literally children right now, but we're talking
Mhm.
about the ones who have been born, in the 80s and the 90s. They're in their 30s, some of these, and it's just a bit more natural to come in open and anchoring in that and this energy that we're talking about, whether it's from the inner planes of nature or the outer or higher planes of the archangelic and the unicorn, and so to have it actually, because the way that you teach it and the way that you write about it is practical. You know what I mean? It isn't just sort of
Mhm.
unicorns, the end. You know what I mean? It does have some grounding to it, and it has some rounding to it, as you said, that if you experience this as archetypal, great. That's wonderful. And if that's helpful, that's helpful. And so I really do appreciate your work.
Oh, well, that means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
And you are offering everyone a free gift, you guys. It's Become Self Empowered Soul Immersion Meditation. Oh, you guys. So we have a link, and if you go to the description here, a link for you to be able to grab this as a download. And you have to just put in the code CHARMED11 at checkout. And so go grab it. I've only heard your meditations as maybe I've seen them on YouTube or something like that. So I can't wait to do this. How you want to tell us a little bit about this particular?
Yeah, there's a lot of soul immersion journeys on my
Oh,
website.
great.
So Spirit coined that phrase because it really is an inner landscape that you go into
Hmm.
and you have your own experience. But self becoming self-empowered is really exactly what it says.
Yeah.
It's helping you to just find the strength that, of course, you have within yourself that maybe you don't feel that you do. It helps you to really just feel more confident, more at ease, more focused, and the space is held by sunstone crystal. So it's got this beautiful crystalline vibrations all the way through. That's all I'm going to say. Just check it out and
Okay.
you'll enjoy it.
That's wonderful. Well, is there anything else you would like to share with us today on this episode? It's been such an honor to connect with
Just
you.
lots of love, and gratitude. Thank you so much, Tricia. Thank you, everybody who is listening and watching. I look forward to connecting with you. And I'm absolutely loving just being in the space of Instagram right now and sharing Mother Earth news daily. So come and check that out and say hi. I love to be social.
Mother Earth news, I love it. It's a Mother Earth update. How beautiful. Oh, I want to share with you. I'm actually being offered, this is in the works, but I may be going to Ireland to do some kind of fairy education workshop or something along those lines in Elemental Kingdom. And I know that's basically, it's not exactly where you live, but I thought I would share that with
You
you.
have to come over.
Please, yeah.
There's many flights that you can get, and they're only like an hour over to Scotland.
It's pretty close. And if you're ever in Los Angeles, I would love to have you here. And this is my studio here. I'd love to have you in
Oh, I would
studio.
love that, Trisha. I would really would. That'd be lovely.
Well, it's been just really beyond a thrill. All this unicorn energy, all this archaea and archangel energy. And so you all please go check out and grab that free gift from Calista. And thank you so much for coming on the program. What a light, what a gift.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
I really appreciate you connecting with this broadcast. I hope you enjoyed Calista, and I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.